What's the story?
The story is that I started my success. Are we recording? Or you want?
I just recorded. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are we recording?
As soon as I asked what your story was.
When I first went into practice and I first started doing nutrition, I ran into, and my own personal, it was my personal strivings towards success. I ran into success and failure, and really truly failure. I first started doing nutrition with weight loss with patients.
Okay.
And I saw that the vast majority of them failed, and I wondered why. I understood weight loss, all the other stuff, but people would, when I say fail, they would succeed for a portion of the time, then they would ultimately fail for one reason or another, and particularly with that, more or less, that started my interest in studying human success.
Okay.
One for myself and my own seeking of success and my own failures over the years within that. And I studied a lot. I studied success theory, the success practices, the success gurus, the Tony Robbins and the Brian Tracy's, and just methods that people were putting forward for success. And I always came up short. I always felt that the rah-rah or the motivational or the methods for success, they all could work or not. Mm-hmm. Mostly for a short period of time, not for longer term success. So, and the success could be in anything, whatever the achievement was, right? Success is achievement, a goal, achieving something. And I always felt that there was something deeper, a root reason, if you will. And I would say about, 8 years ago or so, 7 years ago, I felt there had to be a common denominator, for human success, something that people who achieve success, whether it was just for singularity or that they were very successful in life and a lot of things that they did, that they sought out, that they set a goal for, that there had to be a common denominator. Humans aren't that different. But I had no answers, none, zero. And one night, about 4 years ago, maybe 5 or so now, Jesus, time flies. I was going to bed, and this goes into the metaphysical realm as well. So I was going to bed. I laid in bed, and how I'll often do, in my mind, I have I don't know what you call it, a filing cabinet, let's call it, where I have stuff in there, and from my inventions to other things, to things that I would just go in and take it out and start thinking about things. And I was laying there, and I wasn't that tired. I had to get up early in the morning, and I started to take out something. I can't remember what it was, but it was something about success, something I had read, something, and I was thinking about it. Now, you could say that I fell asleep. I tell you I didn't. I was literally in bed for 30, 60 seconds, a minute, maybe, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I was thinking about this thing, and all of a sudden, the only thing I can describe it as a download I had, which I experienced in another metaphysical area of my life, but not like this. I had this download that probably took about 6 to 7 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. And I had this download of knowledge, of information about human success that not only included the common denominator of what it was, but also a proof and something. It's actually, this is not my term for it. This is all within the download. It's called the horizontal and vertical and horizontal decision-making paradigm. That came all down with it. All of this, the entirety of a book, downloaded in my head in about 5 or 6 seconds. And what is absolutely unbelievable about it. Now, this all happened, and it just hit me, and I'm like, first you think it's an idea, then you realize the amount of information that's in there. And again, this is not foreign to me, but not like this. And I got up and I grabbed a pen and I started writing. I was writing for like 25, 30 minutes. And I wasn't even scratching the surface on it. And I was getting exhausted. And I'm like, I just can't. I can't do it anymore. And I said, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to forget it. I didn't know what to do. And I just went to bed. Next morning I woke up, didn't matter. It was emblazoned in my mind. And what's interesting about it is there's nothing that I had studied. It was all new information. Nothing I had ever read. And you guys who know me kind of have a feeling that I know what I've read. I have that ability to recollect an enormous amount of knowledge, information from what I've read. Don't ask me a name on someone's name, though. I'm terrible at that. But I bet on that. But it was all new. It was nothing I'd ever thought of, nothing I had ever considered. And so that was a download. So this, it's called. And by the way, again, not a term I gave. I gave it. This all came in the download. It's called Renewing the Vow, the Source of Success. That's, I was going to share a part of that stuff tonight. It's a work that I've done with many people. I want to do it more in groups and other things that I need to write a book about it. A short book, not a big book. So in a nutshell, to talk about it, in success theory, Robbins, they all talk the same formula for success, and I'm sure you've heard it. Intention plus action equals result. And this is, if you've never heard, that's something that is bandied about as a success formula. You have an intention and you take that intention into action, right? And then it has a result, and that result is whatever the success is, or the steps to success. And the thing is that it's only a partial formula. There's a missing element. Mm-hmm. And the missing element is, well, I'll give a story about it. Two women, and again, this is a metaphor. Two women plan to take a cruise. They want to go on a cruise. They want to go on a journey, and they're going to go on a cruise. And they do all the preparatory work, where they want to go, what's going to happen, what clothes they need, all the things they need to do before they start on this journey. Now, the metaphor is for, let's say, starting a weight loss program, or even the 90-day challenge, doing anything, right? Plan anything, but it could be anything. So it fits for anything. So they do their plan, their prep, all of that, and they get ready to launch. On the ship gets ready to launch. What's the part I'm forgetting here? That's it. Pardon me. They both make a vow about going on this cruise. They each make a vow. I'm going to go on this cruise. And they're going to get to a destination that they've never been to before. They've never been on a cruise. They want to do so. I vow to go on a cruise. I vow to get to that destination. And then they start their preparations, and they do everything, getting ready for that cruise and getting ready for it. And the day of the cruise, of the launch of the cruise, comes. And they both, let's call them Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Smith, and they both get to their respective ships. And they board, and they both set sail. Mrs. Jones goes straight through. There's some storms, there's other things, but boy, oh boy, the ship gets through. There's maybe some breakdowns. They fix the ship and sails through straight on, and she gets to her destination. That's Mrs. Smith. Let's call her Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Jones, on the other hand, has all types of issues. Kind of gets there. The ship kind of gets lost, blah, 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 and doesn't, and it either sinks or returns to port, never getting to the destination. The question is, what's the difference? What's the difference between Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Smith? Why was Mrs. Smith successful in launching and getting to her destination? Why was Mrs. Jones unsuccessful, didn't get to the destination, didn't achieve that which she set out for. And this is what the big thing that came to me that night, that download. Mrs. Smith, who succeeded, I'm hoping I'm screwing up my names, but Mrs. Smith, who succeeded, they both made a vow to do this. Mrs. Smith took the vow on the ship with her. She took the vow with her when she launched. Mrs. Jones left the vow on the dock. Mm-hmm. And Mrs. Smith always had the vow with her on every part of the ship to keep her moving and sailing forward to get there. Mrs. Jones, however, heard the vow, for the first part of the voyage, but as she got further and further away, the vow was not to be heard. And she uncoupled and, of course, had her problems and didn't succeed. Now, these could be two ladies who start on a dietary program, or two business people, or whatever. And the key here is in that formula: intention plus action equals a result. The missing thing in this formula is a catalyst. The common denominator that people who succeed, whether, let's take, for example, weight loss, someone tries to lose weight for 10 years and just absolutely unsuccessful at it. And at some point, for some reason, man, it happens for them. They lose the weight. They're successful in the process. What's the difference? Now we can say lots of things. The aspect of the diet, it was the exercise, it was all these things. And all those are variables, and any of that could be true. However, it's what carried them through. What was the thing that created the actions from the intentions, even on a dietary plan, prepping your food, doing all the things, getting to the gym? What is the thing on all the actionables that makes that intention into an action? And the thing is, the common denominator, for those who are successful a lot, for those who find themselves sporadically successful, the difference is always having that vow with you in every moment. The vow is a catalyst. It's an igniter. It as a catalyst makes a reaction easier. In the body, we have catalysts, enzymes are catalysts. Catalysts make a reaction easier, more facile. And the thing that occurs with us is the intention often dissipates, doesn't turn into an action. To go to the gym, to sit down and do the work. The intention doesn't get turned into an action. Thus the result, thus the lack of success, often the lack of success, often the block. The vow made is, and that's another conversation that we'll talk about in a second. The vow made in the time of the intention, catalyzed by a vow, makes the action occur much more easily. And this leads to another understanding of what I call human summoning. It's need, want, desire, and compulsion would be the fourth, summoning. And these are defined differently. If you look it up for years, I tried to find what is a need, want, and desire. They're kind of like synonyms if you look them up in the thesaurus. But in essence, metaphysically as well as practically, they're different. A need, for example, and the definitions are very specific. A doctor tells you, listen, if you don't lose weight, you're going to have a heart attack. Well, okay. The doctor says, I need to lose weight. I need to go to the gym. It's a need. A need has a very high threshold of resistance. So it takes a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy, the energy to take an intention and convert it into an action. The threshold is very high. It takes a lot of energy of will, if you will, to get over that every time to go to the gym or to sit down or do my disciplines or whatever in business or whatever. A need has a very high threshold. A want has a somewhat lower threshold. I want to go to the gym. I really want to do this. I want to do this. Want. So by the way, the definitions, what distinguishes what makes them distinct is the threshold level between a need a want, and a desire. Desire is a very small threshold. It takes almost no mental energy to take an intention into an action. A compulsion is a vacuum. It's a negative, right? A compulsion is a negative. It actually draws you and pulls. It takes a thought or an intention right into an action, a compulsion. So, and that of course can be in some ways good, but of course in many ways can be deleterious. So the need, want, and desire. What does a vow do? And it says, I vow to lose weight. I vow is what the 90-day challenge is doing. They're vowing something, and no matter what it is, even within anywhere in our life, you're vowing to do something. And there's a headline vow. I vow to lose weight, but there's a lot of what I call daily actionables. A lot of vows. You're vowing to do your food preparation. You're vowing to go to the gym. You're vowing to do your coaching elements. There's a lot of vows within any large prime, what I call a prime goal. But the vow itself takes the intention, no matter what it is, and takes the need and drops it to a want to his desire. It makes it much more easily, much more readily occurring. All the intentions, all the into actions, having the results which add up cumulatively to the overall arching goal that you're looking to achieve. I've done this with so many people, and there's some other elements. I actually, and this also came that time because I'm somewhat more than a little knowledgeable about neurolinguistic programming and anchoring. So this, this isn't. But I wasn't going to talk about this tonight. But what we utilize for in the process is that you define. For example, as we take with someone, you define what the headline is, what the prime goal is. From the prime goal, you break down, just in most goal situations, what your daily achievables. What do you need to achieve on a daily basis in order to eventually achieve that prime goal in the future? And from these daily achievables, you write the vows. I vow to blah, 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 blah. And you write them out, these wonderful, beautiful, powerful vows associated with each one. Then what we do is we create a bracelet, if you will, with charms. Usually it's from 5 vows. Almost everything is 5 or 6, 4 or 5, 6, maybe 7 at the most, vow sets with daily achievables that need to be done every day. And we have this a ceremony, if you will, once everything is complete, where we put the charm on, and each charm is imbued or endued with a vow.
Yeah.
And,
yep. So I wear a word.
Mm-hmm.
It's commit. So I pick a word for the year.
Right.
And it's my intention. It's my word.
Right.
What I live up to every single day. And actually, if anyone was in my business intensive, the last one, I made them all choose a word, and I made them all bracelets, so everyone can wear their word. So
in this understanding of the vow, right, structure of this common element that allows people to succeed it's called anchoring. So if I take that vow, right, and we assign each charm to have a particular vow, and you hold it, it's on your skin, and you touch it with the other hand, and you say your vow for each one. And then what I have people do is several times a day, they reignite those vows. Mm-hmm. They touch it and they do it. And what happens, well, theoretically what happens, and I've seen this very practically, what happens is that you are consciously doing that, and in each time that you reset those vows, or let's say infuse those charms with a vow, when they move on the skin, it fires off that same thing in the unconscious. Your brain knows where every charm is. It knows the position of it. It knows. So as they move, and what we do is each one has a different shape and texture to make it a little more identifiable to the unconscious. It fires off in the unconscious this vow set, intention. So not only, so you may do it 3 times consciously, but it fires off thousands and thousands and thousands of times in a 24-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
The power of that is incredible, of how that anchors this vow into it, associated with this intention. So that when you do say, I got to go to the gym, it fires. All of a sudden, the resistant threshold of a need or a want is reduced. And as it goes on, it becomes less and less reduced, making the intention so much easier to achieve. And we've all experienced this when we go to do things. Sometimes, it's just easier. It's not a problem to go and get something done, to achieve something. It's always a threshold, always the resistance. And that is, and what this is not my work. This is what came to me, in that 6 second, 7 second period. So in essence, what we're looking at is, what is the common denominator of success? And from me, what was given to me that day, after 2 decades of looking, if you will, or searching for some answers, was that the common denominator is this intrinsic vow that we keep. People do this who seem very successful in their life. They inherently do this. They don't understand it, but they keep that vow with them. Their brain just keeps them. Their mind keeps that vow there, more easily allowing an intention to turn into an action, to turn into the physical action required. We see these people. They seem always extremely successful. And successful people are ones with discipline. They're the ones that are, getting stuff done. And we all know that many of us, me included, my Lord, is that often that if we're not doing these things, and even doing this has helped me enormously, I should do it more. Is that often we run up against the resistance of need, want, and of need. I need to do this. In order for me to be successful, I need to do this. Even in our language, that the thresholds are very high to get these things done.
But that's a belief system, don't you? I think it comes down to belief systems too. If you need to get things done because you believe that that's a sign of success, it's not necessarily that's your belief system that's setting up your own block. But I think it does come down to desire.
Explain that a little bit more. I'm not following you 100%.
So if you feel that you need to do something because somebody else does it, so it could be in business, I come across that I need to be on social media because that's what people do when they own their own businesses. That's what people do. I need to do that. And a lot of times I go, well, if it's not profitable, it's probably not worth your time to do it. Why are you doing it? So it always has to come back to something, but it's your belief system that you need to do it. You don't necessarily need to do it.
That's a different, again, this is where it comes down to definitions and distinctions, right?
Yeah.
So you're using the word need in a different way.
Okay.
Yeah. So using the word need and I need to do this because somebody else is doing it. That is a belief. That, by the way, that is a belief that you need to do something. Now, what I'm talking about is the aspect that you, for example, for this, what we're doing here, whether it's business, whether it's learning, whether you have to read a book, whatever, you create the distinction of the need, want, and desire. If for example, you can say, I want ice cream. Well, actually, you really desire the ice cream, and many people, it's a compulsion. I'm compulsed to have the ice cream. It doesn't take a lot. It's actually got to resist that often. I need to resist the ice cream, or I want to resist the ice cream. Certain things are just facile. It's easy to go from an intention into an action. But for many things that we know to do. For example, I need to do my quarterly books. No one wants to do them. I don't really like to do them. And that perhaps what makes the word in this case a need is the high threshold of resistance. If it's a high threshold, in truth, you really do not. That's the last thing you want to do. It's going to take so much energy. You keep procrastinating it. You just don't want to. it's a need. It's a need because there's a huge threshold. It takes a lot of mental energy and effort to sit down and get it done, to
Right.
take the intention into an action. So in these definitions, the need is defined by the threshold of resistance. A want would be less of a threshold. It's something that, I'll do that. I'll get to. A desire would very little threshold. It's like, I desire to go to the gym. I love, we can use other words, right? I love going to the gym. I love going to my Pilates, or I love doing yoga. I never miss a class, right? That would, you're using adjectives of love and other things, but that would denote a desire.
Mm-hmm.
Very low threshold. The intention goes to an action very, very easily. So,
Napoleon Hill talks about that a lot in his Think and Grow Rich book, about you need to have desire to be successful. I mean, there's chapters on it. He goes over it and over it, that unless you feel that compelling desire and it doesn't stop, it almost burns in you constantly.
Right.
That's what creates success.
Yeah, and with this, it makes, right, and Hill talks about that, and he's absolutely 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't talk about it in the aspect of the three types of what we call human summoning. So we summon things into existence, right? We're summoning things into existence, whether we metaphysically summon it or we physically summon it by actually doing it, right? It's these three things, and it's the aspect of desire. If you are in a state of desire or have desire, in a desire, the intention to an action is much more easily done. You're getting much more done, more actionables, right, by what they do based upon the desire. So he talks about it, but doesn't define it as the reason and understanding it. And then again, the understanding of what takes. So there's so much that when in our success that has a need threshold, and it blocks us.
Yeah.
It stops us.
I agree.
Right? So the aspect is that this vow, understanding the importance of the vow as a catalyst that takes the needs and reduces them to wants, potentially even desires, that just takes the threshold.
Oops, we lost you. There you go.
I'm sorry?
We lost you for a few seconds.
Oh,
you're back.
Sorry. We talked. I think I'm gonna tip to the camera. I talked about this a little bit in a different way, in the past. But like in the metaphor, when the woman took off on the journey and left the vow behind, and the vow wasn't there. With her, it's like, I want to lose weight. This is the reasons, and then you start, and then you in essence don't carry that original vow with you. It's not a part of you, and it's not there to ignite that intention into an action. This thought process and this actionables with the bracelet, with the anchoring, embedding the vows deeper and deeper on each daily achievable. It can be quite miraculous, actually. But it's understanding in essence, the mechanism that this is. How do it whatever way you want, but keeping that vow and the vows that come from it, on all I need to sit down for 3 hours in the morning or 2 hours in the morning. I'm saying it. I need, right? And I'm using the right terminology. It's a high threshold. It's a high threshold to do every day, as opposed to it's the vow. With using the vow and engaging that vow, in my thought process, all of a sudden it's not a need anymore. It's a want, and then it's a desire, and I'm easily doing my disciplines in the morning, or getting to the gym, or choosing the right food over the wrong food, and all those things. So it simply comes down. I call it the vow. I was led to call it a vow. I was shown that was a vow. The other part on this is the thing that came as a proof. It's the vertical and horizontal decision-making paradigm, which is a whole new way of thinking of of goal achievement, of achieving goals and an achievement in general. And this is interesting because when I first started to help people lose weight, decades ago, and running into problems, I swear that Tony Robbins said this, except I cannot find any place where he says this. But I'm damn sure it was. But anyway, he used to talk, I'll say it was him, he used to talk about making a real decision. I think it was called a real decision. And a real decision is irrevocable. So, for example, you stop. I'm going to quit smoking. I stopped smoking, but 3 years later, you start smoking again. He would say that you didn't make a real decision, or you started something, right? It wasn't a real decision. That was big, right? What he analogized it to was coming to the edge of a cliff and deciding to take the step off the cliff. Mm-hmm. That once you did that, you were going down. Mm-hmm. You couldn't turn back. It was irrevocable, and that was a real decision. And I would tell that to people. So people who were losing weight, and all of a sudden they stopped and they failed, and I would tell them that they hadn't made a real decision. and I remember this one guy looking at me. It's like it's like shaking his head. Yeah, but I almost read his mind, because I was thinking the same thing. It felt like a real decision. It felt like I made a real decision. I failed. And I never had an answer to that. I never had an answer to, you didn't make a real decision. That's why you failed, and really, I think a lot of 20 years was all about that. Like, I agree with you, pal. I've done it too. And it felt like a real decision. So the vertical and horizontal decision-making paradigm is this. A vertical decision is like jumping off a cliff, that when you make the decision and you take the action, that forces outside of you make the action occur. So stepping off a cliff, once I make the decision, gravity, a force external to me, brings me, I can't go back. So a force outside of me. An example of a vertical decision in human life would be you have a bunch of money and you're going to put it in the stock market. And you decide where to put it, and you push the button, and your money goes. Forces outside of you, the forces of economics outside of you, are going to move that money whatever direction it wants until you can pull it out. But you have no control once you push the button. Forces outside of you take that decision forward or wherever. That's a vertical decision. Okay. Human goals achievement are horizontal decisions. And what I mean by that is they require energy, mental energy, like we're talking about with the intention into an action, where many times it's pure willpower to try and get over the threshold. Willpower. For example, I want to go to the gym. I got to go to the gym. I need to go to the gym. I got to get my clothes. I got to get out and get there. And that might work for a week or two until there's no more willpower energy left. Gotcha. And you stop going, you see? So the horizontal decision, let's go to ShopRite. Let's get a cart. And I'm going to say, you're going to push that cart as fast as you can from one end to the next, to the other side. And you start running fast as hell, and you push that cart in front of you. It takes off like a shot. You keep running behind it. And as it starts to slow down, you got to get behind it and start and push it again. And you got to keep, because forces work on the cart to slow it down. And that cart is your action. You have an intention to keep pushing that cart fast. Right, of course, you got to keep putting energy in. You got to keep energy in. You got to keep putting energy in. Now, the energy we're talking about here in success is the energy of mental energy, of the intention, right? Of getting that intention moved into an action. And we've talked about the thresholds, right? So human achievement, goal achievement, is a horizontal decision that requires the input of energy, and that the vow catalyzes and allows the energy to be less, to take a need to a want and a want to a desire. In essence, to even take a need to a desire level based upon the structure of the vow, the presence of the vow in that moment when you intend. For example, again, let's use weight loss every day or 4 times a week, or 5 to do my cardio. there's an intention. You have to bring it into an action. Those who lose their vow or do not have their vow present or do not have that vow ingrained are always working on a need. And with all of the energy required to take the intention to an action, they eventually will fail. There's not enough willpower. There's not enough energy. We must reduce that. That's the DNA. That's the common denominator of success. The aspect in the presence of that vow in your life every moment. And what the anchoring system does is it just embeds it at a deep, powerful level. And not unlike hypnotism. It's the same aspect. The aspect of embedding a thought on an unconscious level. Same as it's a pre-programming, programming, all that. But that's what came to me in that evening, and it's so incredibly powerful. For one or two potentials, within I say a 30-day period, a 60-day period to do these, to do this, and it's extraordinary actually. But again, it comes back to the understanding of intention. The formula is not complete. That's not intention plus action is results. Intention acted upon, ignited or catalyzed by the vow, more easily produces the action, which produces the results, getting us to our goal and our achievement and our success. End of story.
Perfect. Well, I can't wait for that book to come out.
Yeah, model. It will, but it will.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us tonight. I don't know if we have a lot of people asking questions, but if anyone...
it's there for posterity.
Yeah, this does go into our replay library, so anyone who wishes to ask a question or has something afterwards can certainly reach out to me, to you, to anyone.
Thank you.
You just jumped back on. You did.
Who did?
Anne-Marie, I can see you, but you don't have a question or anything, right? No, okay.
No, I just really appreciated it. Just all the distinctions made a lot of sense.
Excellent. Good.
Thank you. I would love to say it came from my mind, but none of it did. But there.
Yeah.
I studied, learn. I certainly that wasn't the direction I was going, but it certainly, and all of it was in that download of 6 seconds. Believe it or not, but that's the truth of it. So there's more things in heaven and hell.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us tonight. And this will be
Thank you.
a replay tomorrow.
All right.